falar em português e o Sr. Marcos vai traduzir em inglês.
Well, I'll try to help you translating from Portuguese to English, and if in some words get stuck, we have here many people that can help me, so we try to hold this conversation in a nice way, okay?
Então, como nós estamos com falta de fase, ou seja, falta de energia, a nossa apresentação PowerPoint ela foi reduzida no papel.
Okay, because of the rain, we have a problem with electric energy. So they had a PowerPoint, but now they don't have it. So this is our PowerPoint now. Okay?
PowerPoint caipira.
Yeah, it's a farmer PowerPoint.
Então, no começo eu gostaria de apresentar minha esposa, Cornélia.
This is my wife.
Meu nome é Norbert.
My name is Norbert.
O administrador nosso, Edmar.
Our administrator, Edmar.
E o nosso fiscal, que cuida toda a parte do pessoal, o Sr. João.
And Mr. John that oversees everybody. Okay. Look after.
Isso. Então, nós aqui temos uma imagem da Fazenda Palmeira. Vocês entrarem por aqui e paramos primeiro aqui no escritório e agora nós estamos aqui na escola, na antiga escola da Fazenda.
Okay, this is the image of the whole farm. We went through this path and this path, okay. This way, and first we stopped in the office, business office, and now we are in the old school.
A Fazenda Palmeira fazia parte de uma fazenda maior, tá? A Fazenda Figueira, aquela que vocês passaram com o bambu fechado.
Okay, this farm was part of a bigger farm, the Figueira farm. Remember the bamboos, where we passed the bamboos, that is Figueira farm.
A fazenda está localizada no norte do Paraná. Aqui, este rio, a divisa entre o estado de São Paulo e Paraná. Então, nós estamos bem no norte do Paraná e também no limite quase de cultivo de café do Brasil.
We are almost in the limit of coffee plantation in Brazil, and we are close of the border to São Paulo. That river is the division line of São Paulo and Paraná. So we are really up in the north of Paraná, but in the border of coffee plantation in Brazil.
O Marcos sabe aqui melhor, até a geada de 75, o Paraná produziu 20 milhões de sacas de café e hoje está perto de 2 milhões.
Around the middle 70s, our last big production was 20 million bags of coffee before the big frost that we had in 75, and now we are producing around 2 million bags.
E a grande parte da produção brasileira vem hoje de Minas, São Paulo.
And as you know, the most part of our production comes from Minas Gerais.
A fazenda, eu diria, ela é uma imagem de uma fazenda tradicional de café.
Well, this is the traditional image of coffee farm production.
No sentido que nós temos uma estrutura, a área de café é a parte mais alta da fazenda.
The coffee area is the highest level of the farm.
Até 480 metros.
Till 408 meters above sea level.
Aqui na sede nós temos o terreiro de café para secagem, a tulha, todo o maquinário e as pessoas que moram aqui na sede.
And all the infrastructure that's necessary to prepare the coffee, dry the coffee, and the laborers they live here in the main building, okay, main main area.
Nós temos ainda, comparando com outras fazendas, bastante funcionários, tem 30 pessoas fixas.
Compared to other farmers, they still have lots of employees. They have 30 fixed employees.
E durante a colheita de 40 a 70 temporários.
And during the harvest time, they have more 40 to 70 employees.
Ou seja, todo o trabalho, o ano todo, a gente faz aqui com os funcionários nossos e só para a colheita nós contratamos.
So during the year, they work with this 30, and only during the harvesting, they contract the temporary labor.
Então, primeiro, a divisão da fazenda. Esta área é a área do café. São 200 hectares de 976.
The coffee area is 200 hectares from 972 hectares.
Ou seja, 20%.
Around 20% of the farm.
Estas áreas, laranja, são grãos, soja e milho.
This is the grain production area, soybean, the orange one, okay, all the orange one. Grain production, soybean and corn.
E o amarelo é pastagem.
The yellow is graze. Pasture. Grazing land. Yeah. Sorry.
E essa parte aqui, não verde, é reserva legal.
And the green is the legal permanent forest.
Por lei, nós temos que manter 20%.
It's law, 20% of the farm must be reserved for forest. How much percent? 20%.
Em 23 de junho, nós tivemos uma geada este ano muito forte.
On the 23rd of June, we had a terrible frost.
E nós perdemos uma boa parte do café aqui nós perdemos.
And they lost how much?
Perto de 50 hectares nós perdemos.
They lost almost 50 hectares of coffee during this frost. 50.
25% of the coffee plantation.
Yeah.
Yes.
This year? Yes.
This year, yeah.
Eu fiz resumo.
Last June.
Nós temos
I went here just after that. It was really sad.
Então nós temos, eu fiz um levantamento, nós temos 46 hectares, ou 23%, um quarto, é café mais velho do que 6 anos.
46 hectares are coffee that has more than 6 years old.
88 hectares, ou quase a metade, 44%, é café de menos de 6 anos.
8 hectares, less than 6 years, almost half of the coffee plantation.
25%, né, ou seja, 49 hectares, nós arrancamos, que essa área aqui, nós tiramos, eliminamos.
49 hectares, they eliminated the coffee because it was improductive.
Yes.
And
died because of the frost, okay.
E 8%, 16 hectares, nós reservamos. É um corte baixo para deixar voltar de novo.
And 16 hectares, how they call it when it cut very
Stump.
They stump it. Yeah, severe pruning, stump it.
Praticamente toda a área foi plantada nos últimos anos com cafés resistentes à ferrugem, no modelo do Iapar.
Okay. This coffee plantation was done in the Iapar's model, and they used materials, varieties that are dust resistant. All the coffees are dust resistant. Okay.
Rust.
Rust. It's impossible to have dust resistant, isn't it? You know what rust? Yeah, because you know they need people just to clean it.
Nós
Sorry for that.
plantamos o Iapá 59, o Batã, Tupi e os IPR.
So they have some IPRs or EAPR. They have EAPR 59. They have also Obatã
Batã e Tupi.
and Tupi.
What was the last one?
Tupi.
É.
T-U-P-Y.
O espaçamento gira em torno de 5 a 6 mil plantas. E antes da geada nós tínhamos 1.200.000 pés. Hoje somente.
Before the frost, they have 1,200,000 coffee trees, and now they have 900,000. The density of plants is around 5 to 7,000. 5 to 7,000 plants per hectare.
Essa área que a geada pegou tinha algum adensamento diferente?
Não, pegou mais o café. Esse lado aqui é face sul. O vento frio veio do sul. Então, aqui morreu principalmente essa parte, é face sul e café mais velho. Né? Foi até o mais denso, mas um café mais fragilizado.
E baixo, né? Mais próximo a...
Não, nem isso.
Face
Eu diria, foi um café que carregou um pouco mais no ano anterior, estava um pouco debilitado. Pegou bem assim.
Okay. The question was if the coffee that died in the frost has a differential density of plantation. And he said that no, that was the normal density, maybe a little bit more dense, but the problem was the south wind. The cold wind comes from the south, and these plants, they were debilitated because they produced a lot last year. So we have these 2 points, south wind, and the plants were a little bit debilitated because of the strong production in the last year.
Esse fenômeno da geada acontece mesmo, né? A gente fala a cada 10 anos. Nós estamos privilegiados porque a princípio a Fazenda Palmeira fica bastante alta.
Well, they have the privilege of the altitude of the farmer, so they don't have lots of problems with frost. But you know, statistically, it happens once each 10 years. But you know how statistics work.
Nós tivemos 2001 e 2011.
And they have 2001
Yes.
and 2011.
2000.
Yeah, it was really 10 years, okay? Almost 10 years, 10 to 11 years.
Nós achamos que mesmo com o perigo da geada, é compensador a atividade cafeeira, porque nós temos produtividades elevadas em função da fertilidade do solo e da técnica empregada.
Because the soil is very fertile and the techniques that they use, although there is this frost problem, compensates to work with coffee because they have higher production.
Se for um ano normal, nós chegamos em 35 sacas por hectare.
In a normal year, they harvest 35 bags per hectare.
A média brasileira acho que é 20, 25.
Yeah, the Brazilian average is 20.5. Correto, Papa? Média brasileira, tá nisso?
Yeah.
So the Brazilian average is 20.5. About 35.
Ok, além da mão de obra que empregamos, usamos também e cada vez mais máquinas no café. Né? Nós temos inclusive uma colhedora de café.
Well, machinery is improving the using of machinery because, as I told you before, the labor and handcraft is a problem. So they are increasing the use of machinery. They have a harvesting machine.
E no processamento do café nós temos o equipamento quase padrão do Paraná, que é o descascador, para fazer café cereja, CD, descascar o verde, secadores rotativos. Aí eu diria um padrão de técnica que nós aplicamos.
Okay, and for the post harvesting, they have all the machinery that's necessary. And for berry production?
Pulped natural coffees, they have the pulped naturals for cherry and also for the green grapes.
Okay. They have the infrastructure that's the pattern to the standard pattern. For a good structured farm, they have all these structures.
Para aprender cada vez mais que se refere à qualidade de café ou café especial, nós fazemos parte da ASEM, da Associação dos Cafés Especiais, aqui do norte do Paraná.
They are associated to ASEM because they want always learn more about quality.
E procuramos abrir o nosso canal de venda, que é principalmente Londrina ou a fábrica de Iguaçu, de Cornélio. Procuramos hoje mais exportadores em Santos.
The selling and the marketing, the way they work it, they look for people in Londrina, that's a buying center. They also sell to Iguaçu. If you remember, we passed by Iguaçu in Cornélio Procópio, and you sell in Santos, you said?
Yes.
Santos, and they sell coffee in Santos for brokers in Santos as well.
Ok, agora vou passar para você.
Bom, eu vou contar um pouco da história.
I will tell you a little bit about history.
Meu avô era suíço e veio para cá em 45. Veio para cá em 23, para o Brasil.
My grandpa was from Switzerland, and he arrived in Brazil in 1923. 1923.
Ele era industrial na Suíça, da tecelagem, nada com café.
He works in tecelagem. Quem sabe o que é tecelagem em inglês?
Isso.
Textile, yeah. He was a textile industrial in Switzerland when he came to Brazil.
Vendeu a tecelagem.
He sold this textile factory.
E veio atrás de um sonho na selva brasileira.
And he came after a dream come true in Brazilian jungle.
Ele se estabeleceu no interior de São Paulo, na floresta.
He first established in interior of São Paulo in Floresta.
Não, numa mata.
Floresta is not the place in the jungle. It's not the name of a city, it's in the jungle. So when he first arrived, he went to the interior of São Paulo and established himself in the middle of the jungle.
What do you mean established himself? Did he just settle there, or?
I don't know, he comprou. Yeah, he bought the place and it was just forest and he put his house there.
Okay.
Com 7 filhos e a mais nova com 6 meses.
He had 7 children at that time and the youngest one was just 6 months old.
Na região, hoje, na história, ele é visto como colonizador, na região de São Paulo.
In this region now, he is seen as a colonizer, first arriving people.
Porque atrás dele vieram outros suíços, carpinteiros,
Tá sem energia aqui? Voltou.
Professor.
Well, when people from Switzerland heard about him, they came after him. So many people with labor skills like handcraft with wood and carpenters, masters, and people with skills, people with many skills came after him to establish together with him.
E em função disso, vocês vão ver na trilha, é um projeto de um carpinteiro suíço que fez um telhado tão inclinado que achou que algum dia ia nevar.
Como que faria tudo agora, hein? We are going to see a warehouse that was made by a Swiss carpenter. And the roof is so inclinated because he was afraid of snowing here one day. And of course, we are here supporting not to snow.
Meu pai voltou para a Suíça com 10 anos.
Her father went back to Switzerland after 10 years.
Quando ele tinha 12 anos, porque começou a guerra.
Because of war, he needs to went back to Switzerland.
12 years. Com 12 anos.
Okay, I'll explain it back. I was talking about her grandfather. Now I'm talking about her father. Her father, when he was 12 years old, he went back to Switzerland because of the war. The first war?
Yeah.
The second war. The second war.
E a família ficou lá e ele se formou lá.
And the family stayed there and he graduated there.
Meu avô viajava assim.
Why did you go back? There was a war.
Depois da guerra, a raízes ficaram. Meu pai.
Não, eles estão perguntando por que o seu pai
foi para a Suíça.
Saiu
da guerra.
Para a Suíça, para estudar lá.
Para estudar.
É verdade, boa pergunta. Porque eles estavam no meio do mato e não tinha recursos.
Então a guerra não foi a razão dele ter ido.
A guerra foi a razão deles terem ficado lá. E o meu avô fazia o trajeto.
Okay. Well, let's try to explain it again. Okay. They were living in the middle of the jungle, and her father wanted to study. So where he went to study? To Switzerland. And because of war, he could not come back to Brazil. Okay. And then her grandpa was coming and to Switzerland and coming back to Brazil. He was traveling this way because her father settled the family in Switzerland. Okay, now I could explain myself again.
E depois dos estudos, ele estudou agronomia e voltou para o Brasil.
Well, then he graduated as agronomist, and when he finished the studies, he came back to Brazil.
A energia voltou? Parece que voltou, parece que está piscando lá dentro.
And during this time, her grandpa bought some land in São Paulo, including farms here in North
Deixa eu
Paraná.
acabar a bateria aqui que eu buscar o carregador lá.
1945.
E aí foi dividida, as
Pode.
casas foram divididas
Pode.
entre os 7 filhos e nós estamos na terceira geração. Continua a divisão, então uma reforma agrária natural.
Okay. Well, because of inheritance, they start to divide this land among the children, the 7 brothers. It was a kind of land reformation, let's say that. A natural one, a family one, and they are in the 3rd generation here in Paraná.
E nós tem alemão, engenheiro mecânico, trabalhou na Volkswagen, e aí nós, depois de alguns anos em São Paulo, nós decidimos vir para cá e ficar trabalhando.
So, German engineer, working Volkswagen, and after some years decide to leave São Paulo and come here to the farm. And you?
Eu como sou herdeira, né, tinha um abacaxi na mão.
Okay.
E mais a gente está super contente com a decisão de ter vindo para cá.
Okay. Well, she took the natural decision because she is the owner of the land. And well, she said she has a pineapple, as we say here in Brazil, in her hands. I don't know if you know this term, to have a pineapple in hand. Well, we say that in Brazil for many reasons. Because, but the main reason is that pineapple, when it starts to mature, you cannot stop it. Or you eat it, or it will spoil. Okay? So when you have a pineapple in your hand, you have to make a decision. You eat it or it is spoiled in your hands. That's why you say you have a pineapple in your hand. You have to decide, and nobody can do it for you. She had this beautiful pineapple in her hands, and she had to decide to come here or to stay in São Paulo, and the family decided to come here.
E assim nós estamos aqui 20 anos.
And they are here for 21 years now.
Além agora voltando um pouco à questão da fazenda, durante a colheita as mulheres trabalham. Durante o período de entre safra, nós buscamos outras atividades para as mulheres da fazenda.
Well, coming back for the structure and the functioning of the farm, during the harvest, the harvesting time, the women work in the harvest. But when they don't have harvest, they don't have labor for women in the coffee, so they need to find something else for women to do.
Nesse sentido, nós recorremos ao Senar, que deu cursos de artesanato com materiais daqui, que é a taboa e a banana.
There is an institution here in Paraná that's called Senar. Senar offers training, skills, and other kinds of trainings, and they look after Senar, what they could do with these women, and they offer them a training for a handcraft with some materials that are natural in this region. Taboa
Taboa e fibra de banana.
Banana fiber, and taboa. I don't know what taboa. Taboa is a kind of plant that grows in wet places. You know, that down in the river. Yeah, that one.
Reeds.
How to call it?
Reeds.
Reeds. R-E-E? Okay, the reeds. So they learn how to work the reeds and the banana fiber.
E se surge uma oportunidade na cidade, elas vendem papel, bolsas, aqui na cidade.
Okay, and when an opportunity comes up downtown, they go there to sell their production.
E é nesse lugar que a gente transformou aquela escola, a gente transformou um local de experimentos, tem papel,
Okay. Well, this is a former school, and they transformed this school in a school, okay? Because it's a training center, but they have a chapel, they have a meeting room, a library back here, and everything happens. Okay, and the children, they go to Santa Mariana, that is a small town that we pass by when we come, and the city council, they come to pick up the children and take them to school, and they bring it back.
Posso complementar, Cornélia? Including this, Cornélia and Albert, they live here at the farm, in the farm, okay? And you can include his son, his youngest son, and in this group that goes to see every day by bus to study.
Obrigada. Então, eu convido eles a ficar à vontade, nós vamos servir um suco, e depois nós vamos fazer um tour pelas instalações, vamos terminar com a distribuidora, e depois a gente vai lá.
Okay. Well, now she's invited us to at home, to visit the chapel, the library. They will be serving a juice, and then after all, we're going to see the post-harvest structure they have, and a harvest machine, a coffee harvest machine. And after all, we go to her house. She's invited us to do that. Okay, so you can be free free to look the craft.
E não está vendo. Não, são só modelos.
These are just models, they're not selling this one, so you do not try to buy.
Esse cortina, né?